Hi everyone, it has been a minute. I am so sorry for not posting, but life has been busy a little bit in the last few months. But I'm back and let's get into it. So today's lesson is lesson 7 of the beginner series, and we are looking at ways that you can reserve white in watercolor. So if we have a think about that, often you want to paint something white, but in watercolor we don't really use white paint unless you want to do something like a gouache or acrylic paint over it. But there are different ways that we can actually keep the space on our paper white. And we also use it when we want to do a really nice and wet flowy background and sort of have fine flowers or details in the foreground. So we would cover those with masking fluid or gum arabic or different products, and then paint, and then we can lift that up and paint the thing underneath. Okay, so it will all make sense in a minute, hopefully. Okay, so we're going to look at a few different techniques today. So the most popular one is probably using masking fluid. So masking fluid, couple of things to remember about masking fluid. First of all, you want to test it on the paper that you're going to use. So maybe in a corner somewhere, put a little bit of masking fluid, let it dry, and then later on take it off to see if it doesn't damage your paper. Masking fluid has the best outcome if you are using 100% cotton paper, 300 GSM or thicker. Okay. Masking fluid can ruin your brushes, so always make sure to use an old brush when applying masking fluid. Or I got these from like Spotlight here in Australia, and these are like little silicone tips, and they are good to put masking fluid on, or something like a glass dip pen that you can just clean afterwards as well. These are also good. You can use brushes, but dip them in dishwashing liquid first, a solution of dishwashing liquid, and use your masking fluid, and then afterwards clean. You should be able to clean your brush, but don't use your expensive brushes for masking fluid. Now, you get different types of masking fluid. You get this is the Daniel Smith one. I've used the Winsor and Newton one before, which was really nice as well. They are all white, so it can sometimes be a bit difficult to have a look on your paper because they dry white as well. So it might be hard to see where you've placed it or where you want to take it off. You get ones in blue. So this is actually the refill for a pen, and it's lost its color because this one's really old. I'll have to give it a go and see if it still works. I just got this one to try out, which is also a pen, and then I bought the same brand. I bought like a container of it as well. So these ones are all blue, and that makes it easier to see on your page, of course. Now, using masking fluid, you can just imagine the things that you can reserve white in. For example, something like the ocean, if you're doing little waves or anything like that, it will be really hard to paint that without painting the white. So using something like masking fluid can really help you to block out those areas that you want to keep for your waves. And then afterwards you remove the masking fluid and you can paint your shadows into those areas. Something like the sky, if you're doing a field of wildflowers. So there's lots of ways that you would be using masking fluid for. Another one that I like to use is gum arabic. So gum arabic will not damage your paper. and it will not damage your brush. So you can, it has multiple uses actually. Gum Arabic you can also use to reserve your brushes. If you go and watch my video on brushes, I think I did it in there. So once every couple of months I actually dip my brushes into the Gum Arabic. I reshape them, I let them dry for a couple of weeks, I don't use them, and then afterwards you can come back and just rinse that off. Okay, so Gum Arabic is a really good way to reserve white on your paper as well. The only negative that I would say is it's a bit harder to remove. Masking fluid is sticky, so you can almost erase it with a rubber, or you can sometimes lift it up and pull it off, which I will show you. But with Gum Arabic you need to use a brush and water and work it a little bit to get rid of it. So I wouldn't do really fine details with this, more bigger things that you want to block out, big waves and stuff like that. That's what you would use this for. Masking fluid you would use for those really thin fine details. It works brilliantly then. Another thing that you can use, and I didn't have a normal white candle, but you can use candle wax, white candle wax. This is just from a happy birthday candle. But you can't remove this. So whatever you use this for, you will not be able to paint anything on that. So that would literally just be white on your paper and it will stay that way. You can't remove it. And then the last method we're going to have a look at is just if you just don't paint that area. But as you can imagine, if you're doing a really nice and soft background or anything that needs a bit more water and lots of paint dropping in, it's really hard to then sort of block out an area unless it's really big. But otherwise it's quite difficult if you have like fine intricate things having to go around lots of flowers and things like that. So let's first test these techniques. I'm going to put them on the paper, I'm going to let it dry, and then I'll show you as well how to remove it, and I'll show you a couple of examples that you can paint using masking fluid or Gum Arabic. Okay, let's get started. First, I'm going to do the candle wax over here, and to put it on, you simply just color in that space that you want to reserve white. Okay, for the Gum Arabic, I can use any of my own brushes. Goodness. Obviously got a child safety on. Come on. Oh, okay. There we go. That's not easy. Okay, I'm just using a normal brush to paint this on. And whoops, there was some color on my brush, it looks like it. So you don't have to paint it on really thick. Okay, so I'm just rinsing that off in normal water and that will be fine. Okay, I'm going to try this masking fluid. Hopefully it still works. So as I said, this is a refill, but I'm doing this one because it's blue, so hopefully you'll be able to see. Now you don't want to put this on too thick either, so I'm just going to take those silicone things that I have. Oh, it's become stuck. Just going to take those silicone things that I have and block it out. Now when you're using masking fluid, you also don't need to do the whole area. You can just do the outer edge of it. So let's see. Depends what you are doing. If it's a big thing, you don't need to fill out this whole one. You can just do the outer edge. These silicone sticks, I don't know what they normally used for, but they're really nice for spreading and using with masking fluid. You can do fine lines to them. If you just imagine some highlights in grass areas that you can do. Right, just going to rinse that off and wipe it off. Okay, and then for this last one, I'm not going to use any product on that. So I'm going to let this dry. You don't really want to use a hair dryer for this, because that I sometimes feel like that makes the masking fluid damage your paper even more. But maybe, as I said, test it and see. So just let it dry. We'll come back to it later. Okay. Okay, now that it's all dry, we can put some color on it and see what the effect is. Okay. So I'm first going to give my paper a spray, but now I need to be mindful about not spraying this area, because this is where I'm going to show you, if you're not using anything, how you reserve white. You just don't paint that area. But that means you also don't have to be careful not to get it wet, so that no paint flows into that space. So I'm wetting the area. And then I'm going to take some paper towel or just my microfiber cloth and just dry this section again. Okay. I've got some blue paint over here. And this is just to show you the different techniques. So I'm just going to paint this whole area with blue so that you can see what it comes out as. Okay. So as you can see immediately where I've got the candle wax, there's no color going over that. And I can go over that again and again and again, and it will just stay like that. Okay. So the gum arabic is doing more or less the same. You don't want to go over it too many times, because then you start actually lifting up the gum arabic. So I would just go over it once, especially if it's if you're working with lots of water and you gave it a spray before, like I did. Okay, let's go over the masking fluid. Now with masking fluid, you want to make sure it's really dry, because if you go over it and it's still wet, you can actually damage your brushes as well. Okay, and then the last one is not using any product. So that means that you need to just carefully paint around it, whatever you have, whether you want to do flowers or whatever it is. But immediately that's going to be a bit harder because you won't get the same effect as you do with the others, and you won't be able to make the background blend nicely. You might have some issues to blend as it dries and going around, because it's going to take you a bit longer to go around an object, and that means your paint will dry and you might not get the effects that you want. Okay, now I'm just going to let this paint dry, and then I'll show you how we actually lift this up. Now let's see if we can lift some of this up so that we can paint underneath it. Now, if I can bring it a bit closer, if you look at the candle wax, you can see that the way it is, it's going to stay. We're not going to be able to remove any of that. So that might be good for if you want to create texture in a tree or in the ocean, something like that. You can always use a really sharpened candle to do, you know, thinner lines that you want to keep white, but you will always have some texture coming through, especially if you're painting right over it. Okay, if you're not going to paint all over it and you just want it to be white, use candle wax. That's an easy way to do it. Okay, now to remove the gum arabic, we are going to just switch to a smaller brush, and I'm going to have my water close by, and I have a cloth with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some water onto it, let it sit for a bit, and doing section by section as well. So just putting the water on it, and then I can dab some of that dry. So you can see some of the background still comes through. We might be able to do this a second time. Just let that water sit for a bit as we try to lift up some of that gum arabic. So as you can see, this is better for bigger things that you're still going to paint. And you don't want to use this for something that you want absolutely white underneath, because some of the color that you paint can still come through. And it's a bit more tedious. You have to work it, put water on, let it sit for a bit. So it's a bit more tedious to remove. Okay, so you can go back. You don't want to work it too much because then you start damaging your paper, but you can go back and see if you can lift up some of the paint that stays behind. So I'm just wetting the whole area again. Let that sit for a bit. And then let's see if we can lift up some of that. Okay, I think that's the best we're going to get it. Okay, oh, masking fluid. Always scared when I have to remove masking fluid. Okay, just gonna start here in the corner. So this is actually 100% cotton paper, so we'll see. I didn't test it. I can sense some problems already. I wonder if I have an eraser close by. Okay, so this one does not seem to be working. This is the old one that I used. And it does not seem to be coming off. Let me just see if I have an eraser. So this is a good example of why you test. So it's meant to just pull off. I think this one maybe got a little bit old. So here you can see the masking fluid woes. If I'm doing this, it's coming off. Don't know if I'm really damaging my paper or not. I'll just speed this up so that you can see the end result. Okay, you get the idea, right? So, in all fairness, as I said, this was a really old one that I used. I haven't used it in many, many years. Probably like 7, 6, I don't know. Haven't used it in many years. And obviously, it doesn't work that well now. But in all fairness, your other ones will be much easier to lift off. So in the end, if you do have, if you are using masking fluid, as I say, it has many benefits. It can do really thin lines and things like that. But if you are using it, you'll just probably start in one corner and you'll be able to lift it and pull it off from there, or use an eraser. But I'm not gonna, I might lose my skin on my finger if I continue. Okay, so you get the idea though. There you go, candle wax. I'm just going to bring it a bit closer. Candle wax, gum arabic, masking fluid, and no products at all. Okay, obviously this one will be the whitest one, but it's hard to go around. Okay, now let me just show you some examples of things that you can actually paint using masking fluid. So this is one I painted in class for those of you that were in my class at U3A. And you can see that over here the masking fluid ruined my paper, so it pulled off the paper completely. But that's okay. That was the, let me just switch this one off. I knew that was going to happen because this is not 100% cotton paper. So it actually came off pretty well with all the other ones. So the process that I did was to put masking, first to draw out my tulips, then to put masking fluid on the outsides of it, then to paint the whole background, and then to go back, remove the masking fluid, and then do the tulips. So this just gives you the freedom to really go for the background and not have to worry about painting around anything. Okay. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see me painting something like this using masking fluid or gum arabic. For this one you can use gum arabic as well because these flowers are quite large, so it will be easier to remove the gum arabic as well. Okay. Another one that I painted in class, this one I actually used the gum arabic for, these lavenders, and in the end I couldn't remove all of the gum arabic because it's, you know, small and tedious and you have to like really, so I sort of just let it work for me. So I left some of the gum arabic in the back and just painted it, the purple over it, over the ones I couldn't remove. So, but again, I had the freedom to do a really nice background with it because I've blocked out those areas so that I can paint it later. So process for this one, sketched my outlines, put the gum arabic down. Really work, if you're using gum arabic, you really don't want to actually use pencil because the gum arabic, some of it might stay behind and you might actually get your pencil marks on the background. So process for this one, gum arabic, and then let it dry, do your background, painted these ones in, did a splatter, just have some fun with it. This is a really nice one just to have fun with. In hindsight, I think masking fluid would work better on this one because it's really small and fine details. And as I said, in the end, I couldn't remove all of the gum arabic because it was just so tedious to do it. If you like doing that, if you like painting tedious art, I don't. I like sitting down and painting from start to finish. So I know some people like to, you know, spend weeks on the painting. That's up to you. It's not that I don't like that, doing that. Don't have the patience for it. Okay, and then the last one that I did was this dandelion. And again, I did it with gum arabic. I should have done it with masking fluid. So I learned from my mistakes. That's why I'm showing them to you. Purely because I couldn't remove all the fine lines in the end. And I used a lot of water, so some of my gum arabic disappeared. And I had to go in and put the darker color in and a bit of shadows to actually show you what this is. So this is a dandelion if you still can't see it. It's got a nice background to it. But yes, so let me know in the comments if you want me to paint any of these using masking fluid or gum arabic, if you would like to see the process of it. But hopefully you learned something today, and I showed you real life. Masking fluid does not always work out. Make sure you have good quality masking fluid, good quality paper, not masking fluid that's ages old and not working anymore. Don't dry it with a hair dryer, and yeah, give it time to dry, come back to it, and hopefully it will all work out for you. Test it on a little piece of paper first. Okay, it does work. When it works, it's lovely. It's like the best thing ever because it just is so smooth and it leaves your white. So just give it a go and see if you can get it to work. Test the paper and hopefully it works out for you. Okay, so I'll see you again next time. Happy to answer your questions in the comments. Yeah, see you. Happy painting.